was suffering. Hey girl, hey, how's it going? How you feeling today? That's good. I am feeling a little well, this morning I was feeling a little discouraged. Yesterday, I was well, I took a week off from work to work on my brand. And I was like, okay, the entire week I'm gonna work on my brand. I'm gonna batch shoot some content. I'm gonna do some back of the house work. I did a little bit of brand tweaking. I'm trying to kind of really find the colors that I like to use in my brand, and if I'm going to use a logo or what that's going to kind of look like, because it's almost time for me to start pitching to brands for speaking season, as well as the book is going to be coming out and stuff like that. So yeah, I also was listening to the YouTube girlies, and they were saying that they like my vlogs, they like my long term content vlogs, but not long term content, long content, girl. But I'm sorry, y'all, I keep on moving the phone. But they said that I never come back. So it's like I'll start talking to them in the video in the beginning, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna bring out along, and I don't take out along, and y'all don't like that. So I was like, okay, well, let me kind of fix that. So I'm planning on coming on a little bit more often and calling you a little bit more often, girl, so we can have this face to face time, so you can get to know me even more. But that's what I've been doing. So I want to talk about, though, or I want to tell you that I was suffering yesterday. Like, I really had a little bit of a setback. So I was working on some content. I had, got up and got ready. I was gonna put my makeup on, put my clothes on, that kind of stuff, and shoot some content. And what happened was is that I don't know. I got distracted, and I let a energy kind of fall on me, right? And the energy was fear, it was doubt, and I felt lost. And so I couldn't film like I was trying to film, and it just wasn't coming off the way I wanted it to. I could not find my words. I couldn't find my words. I just didn't have the energy. So I said, okay, I'm gonna take a nap because maybe that's just what needs to happen. So I took a nap, and I woke up, and I was able to shoot a little bit of flat lay, like some flat lay stuff. Um, but I still couldn't find it. Like, it wasn't working out, girlies. So I woke up this morning, and I said, you know what? I gotta pray. I have to pray because something happened to me yesterday. Like, and I'm not sure. And the best way to describe it is that I remember I sat down and I told God that I felt like I was in the valley, and the valley or the hallway or my garden was bare. It was like I couldn't see nothing. I ain't see nothing kind of happening. We all know that, or you may not know, but TikTok had some type of, I don't know, I don't even know what happened, a glitch. And so views weren't coming over, and my YouTube views were doing something weird. And I had built a lot of traction, right? We was building the traction up, we was building the views up, we was building the subscribers up, and the engagement was popping, right? Because that's what's really important to me. Like, the views and the subscribers, although I want them, but I always look at my analytics at the engagement, because I like to see who's sharing my post, how many people are they sharing it with, who's saving it and coming back to it. To me, that's more important, because we're building our community, right? We're building the house of details. And so that is where I was kind of, I didn't know what was kind of happening, because the everything was down, like everything was down. And I was taking in a lot of content. I was taking a lot of content the last few days, because obviously everybody kind of went through a snowstorm or some form of a snowstorm. and it was really cold, and it was just one of those times where you just kind of snuggled in bed and watched content. And I took in a lot of content. And while I'm the first one to say that comparison for me and what I teach the girlies is not a thief of joy, right? Comparison to me is permission. It's almost confirmation, right? Confirmation that these things can be done. If you are dreaming about something and you see someone else doing it, it lets me know, and I try to reframe this for the girlies. It should let you know that it is doable. It is doable because there are no superhumans on earth. There are no superhumans, right? Everybody, has the same abilities. Everybody has the same now everybody might not have the same resources available to them, but there are no superhumans. So whatever you're dreaming about can be done. It can be done. Now, is it going to take time and discipline and consistency and resources? Yes, it is, but it can be done. So that's how I look at comparison. I knew that my thought process had started to change, especially when it came to my content. When I would see my favorite influencers, right, or my favorite creators, and they would have like 300,000 followers, right, and they were huge. They were very successful. They were doing doing everything that I wanted to do, and I would see them having like 300,000 followers, and I would be like, oh, that's not this many. It's not that many. Like, I'll be there soon. And I knew then that my mindset had shifted. So that was my mindset up until yesterday. Yesterday I was looking at people's stuff and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm never gonna get there, and it was just really overwhelming. So I think I don't know what was happening. I don't know what was happening. I hit a glitch, and like I said, I was telling God, like, I felt like I was in this valley, in my garden, right? My garden where I'm planting all my seeds at, and that it was almost as if I was ignoring the things that are already kind of to sprout in the work that I had already done, and I was looking at the things that hadn't sprouted. And I had to remind myself that, hey, first of all, seeds don't just grow overnight, right? Some of these seeds you sold them years ago. I'm talking 7 8 years ago, and they're just now blooming. And other seeds, you're sowing, they may bloom quickly. Like, some seeds for me bloom really quickly. Like, we had our first 6,000 view video on YouTube, girlies. Like, that blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited. And so we had that come out, well, not come out, but it happened. And that was a seed that I had planted, right? And it actually wasn't, because I will say this, my makeup and haul videos, they do pretty well, right? They do pretty well on my platform, for what they are. But I'm not a makeup girly, so it's like, that's not really my content pillar. And while I'm not saying that I can't do it, that's just not a pillar that I'm focusing on, which I made a shift to, and I'll tell you guys about it in a second. But I kind of, the video that went and did 6,000 views was my motivation content, my activational content. And I was so excited for that because it was meaning that it was landing with the girlies that it's supposed to land with. The girlies saw value in it. It had lots of shares and saves, and I was just over the moon about it. And for some reason, yesterday, that got me really down, and it made me lose my voice. I couldn't tap into my creativity, nothing. So this morning I woke up and I decided to have a prayer session. And so I took some notes from my prayer session, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So, because I feel like, some other girls may be going through this, right? You may be going through your era, and in the era that you may be going through is unclear. You don't have a lot of clarity. You don't know what you're doing. You're just kind of moving through you're just going through the motions of it. And I know that can be scary. It can be very scary. It can be very scary. I'm here to tell you firsthand that it can be so scary, but you have to realize that, you, first of all, you were not given fear. Fear was not something that God gave us, right? And it says it in, let me look for mine, because I wrote down some scriptures for y'all. Now, I should have probably got the Bible out and marked these up for y'all and showed them to y'all, but we live and we learn. So in 2 Timothy 1:7, God said, God did not give us a spirit of fear. He only gave us love, power, and a sound mind. And what I thought about when I read that was that, well, where does fear come from? Right? Where does fear come from? And to me, I think that fear comes from our imagination, and it comes from past experiences, because I think when we see certain things and or we may experience certain things, and we kind of almost we can assume what'll kind of happen if certain things happen. So let's just say we walk outside and it's cold outside and we're walking on some ice, and in our mind we're like, okay, well, you know what, I shouldn't be scared to walk on this ice because I got my boots on, this and this and that. But we've heard all these things, right? Like ice can fall from the building and it hit you, or you could walk and you can black ice, right? But it's almost like these things, they've happened in the past, but our imagination now is taking it even further, right? And so I felt like, you know what, fear, God didn't give us fear, right? God didn't give us fear. Now he gave us discernment, but he didn't give us fear. And discernment is a muscle, and that's something that you got to continue to build on, but that's another story. But he didn't give us fear. So in that moment when I read that scripture, I said, you know what, you didn't give me fear, so I'm not going to be scared. Fear not, right? I'm not going to fear. And then I want to go to Psalms 23:4. And this is the one where we say, now that I walk through the valley of death, and so on and so on. But I remember stopping on a part, and it said that God said we was walking, right? He didn't say that we was sitting. He didn't say we was kicking it there. He didn't say we was stalling. He didn't say this was a break, a pit stop. He said we're walking, meaning that we're walking through and we're gonna walk on out. And that hit me and said, you know what, I feel like I'm in this valley, and yeah, you may go through some things, some unpleasant things, or you may go through some unpleasant thought processes, or fear may come in and take you through this valley of fear. But you're walking through it, and you're not by yourself. You're not by yourself. You're with God. God says, I'm with you. I'm with you as you walk through this valley, but we're walking up out of here. And that's what I told myself this morning. I said, we're walking out of this valley that I don't found my way in, that I feel like is so barren and just this part of my garden that has not yet been sold, right? Like I haven't done anything to this part of my garden. This garden is kind of over in the corner. It's not even getting good light right now because it ain't its time to shine. And I don't somehow landed over here in this part of my garden, and now I'm feeling these type of feelings. And God is like, okay, we in here, but we ain't staying. We gonna walk on up out of here, and we'll return when it's time for us to come back to this. And this part of your garden may be completely different, right? It'll be different. You'll be on planting seeds, and it's getting water and sunlight and all those kind of things. So that was a scripture that I had. And then this was a good one, right? Isaiah 41:10. So this scripture, and what I kind of, like I said, I'm not going to read the scripture because I didn't plan for that. But the notes that I wrote down was that God didn't lead you to leave you. So God has, y'all, this whole entire House of Details, is Pretty and Powerful Blueprint, the podcast, the book, all of that was given to me from God. Literally. Like a little bit over a year ago, I was cool. My corporate career was doing what it was supposed to be doing. I had, I had a relationship. I had a good career. I had a nice apartment. I was just frolicking, y'all, just frolicking, just living life, just going through it. I was working on another brand that I had, which was my career services brand, because I've always been an entrepreneur. So I was doing that on the side, but it was just enough, right? I was like, okay, maybe a little extra money, and it's cool. I know I need to build it to a point to where I can kind of build up my marketing and get the systems in place so that I can do it and my corporate job. But I had no idea I would be sitting here today where I am. There was a moment in time, y'all, where I was terrified to get on the camera. Terrified. Like, no, I'm not. I remember I had hired a VA to help me in my other brand. It was called Black Girl Admin. And he kept telling me like, hey, you create these digital products, but the girlies want to see you, right? They want to see you. They need you to talk about them. I can't talk about them. You can talk about them, right? You can talk about them, and you can describe them and what they are and talk about them better than anybody can, but you gotta get in front of that camera. And I was like, no, 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 no. I'm not getting in front of no camera. I'm not a camera girly. I barely was posting videos and pictures on social media. If I posted pictures, they were like just something to do, right? Like I didn't care about them the way I care about them now. The way I care about them now is that they, to me, they're a creative outlet for me. I'm a very crafty type of creative kind of person, and while I don't have a lot of time now to do as many DIY projects that I've done in the past, or making stuff and stuff like that, pictures and creating content had become that creative outlet for me. So I just, pictures is something I just kind of was able to just inject my creative juices in, and that's where, my love of taking pictures now has come. But yeah, God gave me all of this, right? Like I said, I was at the Black Women's Expo. Now I had did a little bit of content creation. I had, got over my fear of getting in front of the camera a little bit, but not a lot. I still was kind of trying to figure it out. I had went out and bought a camera, bought a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, brought this camera, y'all, brought microphones, all that kind of good stuff, and was like, yeah, I'm gonna film my travel content because I was doing a lot of traveling for work. And I remember a position had came up at work that was going to allow me to not have to travel as much, because traveling for work is fun. It really is. You meet new people, you're in a different city every week, and you're eating out and you're kicking it and you're networking, and it okay, y'all, but clearly the blind wanted to be in the video. But you're doing so much, and it's just so much fun, but it can be taxing on you. It can be taxing. Like I would always come home and I would be sick because of the weather change. I spent a lot of time in the West Coast, and I would always be sick. It was so depressing because I knew as soon as I got on that plane, my allergies were going to turn upside down and I was going to be sick. And then also it was taxing on my relationship. It was taxing on my relationship. It was taxing on my energy because you spent so much time, when you're on site for work, you own all day, right? Like in the morning, they're like, okay, let's meet for breakfast. You're like, okay, let's meet for breakfast. So, you go and you meet for breakfast. Then they're like, okay, let's go on site. You're on site all day. And when, you go into somewhere and you're kind of from out of town, you're the expert, right? And that was really my role. I was going into these different warehouses, and I was a subject matter expert. So I was there to, if I needed to train, I needed to train. If I needed to encourage, I needed to encourage. If I needed to audit, I needed to audit. And so you're there, you spend maybe 8-9 hours there because time work day is just all, it's just one big work day. So it's no more of, oh, okay, I go home at 3 o'clock. No, you're not doing that. But on top of being on site, you also still had calls and conference calls and things like that. And then it's like, okay, go back to your room really quick for like 10 minutes and let's meet downstairs for lunch, for dinner. You're like, okay, dinner. And then you go to dinner and all of that. And so by the time you do all that all week and then you come home, you are exhausted. So anyway, back to the story. I told y'all I be getting up. I could all day long. But I had was gonna take this position. The position was not gonna require me to travel. So my travel content had took a little bit of a pause, because now I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm not traveling as much as I was. Now I have to do intentional travel so that I can get my travel content. So I was like, okay. So I still was kind of playing around with that. So anyway, I'm playing around. Guy had been whispering. He had been whispering about these girlies, right? Now the girlies was already in place. I already, every time I meet a girly, she's a girly, right? Talk to people at work, girly, 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 girly. Girly was so popular in my life that other people would literally come to me and be like, "Hey, girly," and it used to be so funny. But anyway, um, he was whispering though. He was whispering that I was supposed to be doing something else, right? And that I had this mission. And he was whispering and telling me little bits and pieces, and but I couldn't, I'm not gonna lie, like my faith where it is now was not where it was then. And so I couldn't hear. I couldn't really hear. And I think that was really, I really want to say, I think that was the cause of, or was kind of, it was kind of associated or connected to, because I used to have really really bad ear infections. I kept getting ear infections, and my ears would clog up, and yeah, it was really bad for months, And I remember I started getting more into my faith, and because God kept talking to me, and I knew He was talking to me, because I grew up in a Christian family. My grandmother was a Christian grandma. Okay, we knew the Bible, we knew how to pray, we knew how to study. We would, she taught us some stuff, and so I knew that He was talking to me, but I couldn't hear Him. I could not hear Him, and I knew that I knew He was saying, "Well, spend more time with me, spend more time with me, spend more time with me," and so you can hear what I'm saying. And so I started to spend more time with Him, and I kept getting this feeling that I needed to isolate. And I kept saying, like, well, why are we isolating right now? Like, like, I don't think this is the time to isolate. I just signed, I just got a promotion at work, signed on for a new position. And I just thought, like, this is, why are we isolating? Like, life is good. We out here, we kicking it. We got a new position at work, and we're getting a little bit more comfortable. We're trying to figure out what our content is. At this time, I was doing really heavy Amazon reviews because, baby, I was shopping, shopping, shopping till I dropped last summer. And so I was doing all these hauls, right? A lot of hauls, which is why you guys see so much haul content on my YouTube page. But I was shopping. And so he kept saying, like, nope, I need you to spend time with me. I had, started to build these friendships, and I was like, well, I just met these girls. If I go into, isolation, they're gonna be like, girl, we supposed to be building a friendship. And I just didn't know what was going on. So went to the Black Women's Expo. It was a girls' day. We went out, we was kicking it, we was shopping, and I rolled up on Tamron Hall, y'all, on the stage. Tamron Hall was talking to these girls, and I'm talking about, they were so loud. They were so loud, and the energy was so electrifying. And I remember I kept trying to hear what she was saying. I could not hear what she was saying. It was like the speaker system was messed up or something. And then it was so many women, and they were screaming. They were total fangirling over her, right? And I'm like, I can't even hear what they really, what she's really saying. And I didn't plan on going to see her on stage. I didn't even know she was going to be there. We were actually sitting in the food court, getting something to eat. And I was just, and I remember she was up there. And so we were walking by, and I look at the stage, and I'm instantly transported to this vision, right? And it's me on stage. It's me on stage. I'm talking to these girlies. I'm calling them girlies. I'm talking about this framework, and I'm giving them this motivation, and I'm giving them all these things, like all these tools and these tricks and these resources. And I'm talking, y'all, right? Like I'm talking the girlies down. And the girlies, their face, I'll never forget their face. They were so lit from the inside. They were all glowing, right? And it was like I could just see, like, the wheels turning for them. I could see that I was activating something in them. And I'm looking, y'all, and I'm in disbelief because this is me on stage and I'm talking, and I'm on the other side, like, what am I talking about? Because I could hear it, but I could, again, it was like I could hear bits and pieces, and I could hear this and I could hear that, but I couldn't hear here. And I looked at my best friend, right? Because now I'm like, what is going on? I look at my best friend, and she says, see, girlie, take it all in. And I'm like, oh my God, is she here too? like is she experiencing this vision with me? And I was so confused. I was so confused. And when I looked at her and she looked at me, and then she just turned around, y'all, and just kept walking. And we just walking. And I'm like, okay. And then I snapped out of it. And I'm like, all right. And so, but I knew that that was my path. I knew that that was my mission. You know how sometimes you sit and you say, well, what was I put on earth for? Like, what was I put on earth for? And in that moment, I knew that's what I was put on earth for. I knew it. Like, it was, I just knew, like, something just was like, this is it. And I was like, okay. So I left. We left, and well, we visited some other booths or whatever, and then we left. And I came home, and the next couple of days I was journaling, I was writing about it, I was researching, like, how do I interpret a vision, like, what do I even do to even understand what God was trying to tell me? So I kept replaying the vision because I was trying to hear what was happening. I tried to look up what Tamara Hall might have been talking about on that day because I'm like, I still don't know what she was talking about to this day. And yeah, it was a surreal experience. So needless to say, I went into isolation, and I remember I would be so excited to come home and just open up my Bible and just read. I wanted to read, and I wanted to hear, and I wanted to listen. And I learned how to clear my mind so that I could actually hear what God was saying. And then he just started talking. He was talking like I be talking, right? And he started talking, and he started telling me all these different things. And in the end, he was like, look, you got to make a blueprint for the girlies, right? You've done the work. You've walked the same journey that they are walking. And it's time for you to share that journey. And mind you, I've always been a girl's girl, right? Like if a girlie asks me what kind of lipstick I got on, I'm telling her. If I found a sale, I'm telling my sister, or I'm telling my cousins, or I'm telling my friends, or something. Like I've always been that girl who's sharing her resources, right? I've always been able to find answers for things, or help someone out, or have a certain, if I had a talent, or I had a resource, or I had a connection, I was always sharing it and always talking about it. So it had always been, I had always been one of those type of girls. But God was like, look, it's time for you now to kind of make this official. It's time. And talk about seeds being planted. I before, and I think I've told you guys the story before, but I planted a podcast seed in 2019. And little do I know that I would literally get in the car and drive to work, and I would have a podcast, y'all. And I would talk about all kinds of stuff. Like I talked about grief, because right around that time I had lost my baby. I talked about building a business. I talked about careers. When I hear back some of the podcasts that I had talked about, I would actually put them on my platform, but they're just rough. They're rough. Like they're just rough. Like I talked about so many different things. Nothing had a rhyme or reason. But when I go back and I listen to those, it makes me think like, wow, like you who would know this is where you are now, right? I'm 2 seasons deep in the Pretty and Powerful Blueprint podcast, and and those actually do have rhyme and reason, right? They have planning and all the other kind of good stuff, but that was a seed that was planted. Another seed that was planted for me was a while ago, was kind of being in isolation and learning how to listen. Like it would be times I would get in the car and I don't want to hear any music. I don't want to hear any music. I would really listen to talk radio just to kind of hear the traffic, but I don't listen to any music. And I would just talk to God, and God would kind of and I would listen, but I wasn't hearing as clearly as I'm hearing today. But yeah, the guy was like, you need to go ahead and do this. This is what it is. Oh, and my other seed that was planted, which it's kind of like, I guess it's not a surprise, but it'll come out. I think it'll probably come out like near the end of the year. Is that I am reopening back up my life coaching services. So I quietly opened up a life coaching business. I want to say it had to be like 2023. And yeah, it was called The Bigger Me, I believe. And I actually had 2 clients, y'all. Like I was building it in real time. I was working, but I hadn't started traveling. I was working, and I remember I opened it up probably like October. I had went to Oakland, and God, that was one of the first times that God spoke to me, and it was so crazy, because his voice was like, it was deep, but it was a voice that you had never heard before. So I remember I was laying in the bed, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to go on a flight at like 6. And so I was laying in the bed, and God was like, you're gonna open up a life coaching business. It's gonna be called The Bigger Me. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then he was like, yes, you are. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know nothing about being a life coach. And I remember he woke me up. Like I could not sleep. I could not sleep anymore. So I got up, I got a pen and paper, and I started writing down all this stuff. And so I went to Oakland, and I was talking to my friend. Shout out to Gabby. I don't know if have a chance to watch it. She is super busy. But I was talking to Gabby, and I had just met Gabby, and we were kind of, getting to know each other. And she told me that my voice was my gift. And she said, hey, your voice is your gift. And I was like, huh? And she was like, yeah. And so she was telling me, this or whatever. And I was like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we just met. Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, your voice is your gift. And I was like, okay. So I started telling her how, I was going to start this life coaching business. And she was like, yeah. She was like, I can see that. And so I started to build it in real time. And I went home, and I put together like all these packages, and I had these worksheets ready for the girlies and everything like that. And I was really just building it in real time. And I talked about it a little bit on social media. Again, now at this time I really wasn't talking on social media, right? Like I wasn't getting on nobody camera. I wasn't None of the stuff I'm doing now. And and a girlie reached out to me and she said that she had, known me for a while and that, what we did, we knew each other for a long time. I actually knew her family and stuff like that. And, she heard about this life coaching business I was doing and she wanted to be a client. And she signed up, she paid, and she had her session set. And then there was another girlie who reached out. And I had knew this girlie for a while. I had went to school with her. And yeah, I literally took the second girlie's intake call at the airport. I was about to get ready and come home, and my flight was delayed, and I was like, "Hey, we can talk right now," and we did. And she became a client, and I think when I came back home, probably like December, um, I found out I had got a promotion, and this was the promotion to the job that I was going to be traveling a lot with, and it just was not going to work. Like I just did not have the capacity. I didn't have the capacity, and I didn't have the language to ask God for the capacity. I didn't know. I just was like, it's not gonna work. This corporate job is my bread and butter, and I gotta make this work. And I was excited, right? I was like, oh, I'm gonna be traveling, and I'm gonna be doing this, and I'm gonna make more money, and I'm gonna really be a corporate baddie now. So I put it on the back burner. I put it on the back burner. And I actually, when I say put it on the back burner, like I literally just closed it. Like I didn't take on any more clients after that. I did not go back on the Facebook page that I had made for it, the IG page. It still might be up. I didn't do any of that. And so fast forward, I was mapping out because I map out my quarters now. I really be mapping out the business, and I'm talking to God, and God had already said, okay, we got the book coming out, and the book right now is called The Cost of Elevation. It's kind of a fluid title. I might change it, but the book's gonna come out probably like March. I'm about 75% done with it, and I also have a workbook. Now the workbook is right around 75% done too, but I actually need to format both of these. So I'm kind of just I guess like what they call like rough writing right now. I'm rough writing and I'm rough writing the workbook at the same time. And then once I'm finished with everything, I'm going to put it through an editing process. And fun fact too, like I said again, just crazy how God be planting all these seeds. During COVID, I took a editing program where I can learn how to edit other people's books. And I also took an instructional design program where I was able to write workbooks, ebooks, in instructional design for adults. I took a class on that and I got a certification for it for both of those. I took them during COVID because I was bored. And yeah, look at it now. So now, literally, I could edit my own book if I wanted to. And I also could, I did. I'm creating my own workbook too. And I'm actually creating it though and editing it though with a know-how. I'm not learning on the job. I've actually done this before. I've been trained to do it and I know how to do it. So I thought sometimes that's funny to me because it's like God will plant these seeds and you don't even know you planting these seeds, and these seeds will come back up like, hey girl, remember us? Now you need us. So um God, like I said, God had something about the book, the workbook, obviously the Pretty and Powerful Blueprint. We got the podcast flowing, which is going really well. And then I was sitting there and I was like, okay, well, what is the next step? Right? What is the next step? Because I'm always thinking about the next step. And God was like, you're gonna go back to life coaching. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I don't know if I'll have the time and the capacity to do that because I also want to step on some stages, right? I want to step on some stages, whether they're my stages or other people's stages. And that is a lot, right? That takes tons of traveling and, pitching. And that's a lot in itself. And God was like, yeah, I know, but you got the capacity. We're gonna be able to figure it out. You're gonna have a team. You're gonna have a team pretty soon. You need to start thinking about who's gonna be on your team, because you're gonna have a team pretty soon, and you are going to be able to do all of this as well as rest without guilt. And I was like, ooh, rest without guilt, because I am a workaholic. I will work, 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 work. And I guess in my mind, it's like the hard work will pay off later. But I will work, 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 work. And when I do rest, or when my body forces me to rest, I feel guilty. I feel guilty. I feel behind. I feel like even last night, right? When my brain just totally was just like, we're not working anymore tonight. And my creative juices had dried up. I was I woke up this morning feeling so behind, and I'm like, wait, it's only Tuesday. Like, girl, like you took off the entire week. Like, it's only Tuesday. You got, and I still got some stuff done last night, and I had already done a lot of work Monday. I mean, not Monday, Saturday and Sunday. Oh, and Friday. I had done a lot of work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so here it is Tuesday, and I'm like, I'm behind. I ain't did this, I ain't did that, I didn't get a chance to do this, I didn't get a chance to do that. And I remember I felt so guilty, and I was like, well, and I kept telling myself, like, because I'm fighting with myself, and I'm like, well, what were you gonna do? Like, your brain was not working, the ideas were not flowing, nothing was happening. Like, it was nothing. You were getting nothing. You kept tapping in, and it was like, it's nothing here for you, girl. Go ahead and take a nap. So yeah, so God was just like, look, you're going to be able to rest without guilt. You're going to have a team, and you start thinking about who's going to be on that team. And you're going to be able to do all of this, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be successful. But life coaching is what's next, because the girlies need to experience you. They do experience you on the podcast, right? And they see you on these vlogs. They're spending time with you. They're getting to know you. And it's a reason why I keep getting pulled to do these vlogs, because every time I do one of these vlogs, I always think when I'm done, I say, you know what? There was no rhyme and reason to this vlog. Like, it was nothing. It was no rhyme and reason to it. I was just sitting there. I was just yapping about what was going on. I was telling the girlies all types of random stuff. But I keep being drawn back to this chair and talking to you girlies. And I'm like, I don't know why I want to do this type of vlogging, right? Like, where this vlog is just kind of like a lifestyle vlog, right? Even with the makeup and stuff like that. You girlies know that I'm an Avon girly. But as I was praying over the weekend, especially on Sunday, on Sundays I have my super long talk with God, right? That's our standing appointment. And I remember I pray sometime to remove chaos described as ambition. And while I love Avon, right, and I really want the girlies to just get back to Avon, and not saying that Avon has to come and just take over, but I think Avon has some really great products, and I really love talking about them. But God was like, look, babe, Avon just ain't it's not in our path right now. It's not on the path right now. It's one of those detours that you may be able to come back and rest on the way back, but where we're going right now, Avon just is not there. So we can't make that pit stop. We can't make that rest stop. You know how you be like, I want to turn off and stop at this place? We're not turning off and stopping at Avon. And I was like, you know what? Okay. I understand. Like, I trust you, God. I know that you're going to order my steps, and it is what it is. And let me tell you, girlies, I felt such a relief, because I had, obviously, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm not gonna half step it. I don't half step anything. So I had so much content planned, so much Avon content planned. And when I woke up the next day after he had told me to release Avon, I felt so much better. But I also, again, the vision got clearer. Every time something kind of happens where we go into a new era, or we step or we go a little bit further on the path, the vision, the end goal gets clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. And I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see it, and I'm not feeling guilty about it anymore. So we are letting Avon go for the foreseeable future, because we got other stuff to do, and Avon just doesn't fit. But I will say this, I feel like now also I can really truly enjoy the products. I can enjoy all the products that I use. So I love getting on here telling y'all about the products that I use. But, I keep saying, like, I'm not a makeup girly. I'm not, that kind of girly. So the girlies be like, girl, where's the swatches at? Like, you talk about this makeup, but can you swatch it for us? And how do you feel about it? And stuff like that. And I be like, ooh, I just wanted to show y'all what I got, and kind of give y'all a little bit about it. Like, I don't really have a lot of capacity to kind of do swatches and come back on and do dupes and all that. I don't got the times, girlies. But I feel like in these conversations, right, these FaceTimes, that we can talk about that type of stuff. So I keep being drawn here, and I think that God was telling me on Sunday that you're drawn here because you want to connect even deeper with the girlies. Right? You want to, in the vision, remember I told you that when I was there, the energy already was electric, not in my vision. It was electric, just period. But in the vision, it was crazy. Like I could feel the girlies and they were so happy. They were so happy. I was so happy. I was smiling. And y'all, it was great. And like I said, I could see, this fire lightning you guys, and I could see this activation kind of happening. It was almost like I put a battery in y'all back and y'all was like, okay, I'm finna go. I know what to do. I got the confidence. I got the language. I got the direction. You don't give me some resources, girl. Like I'm ready. I'm so ready to go. And I guess that's what I guess that is the next part of the mission is right. It's not only to kind of be able to get on here and provide this type of content on the platforms for the girlies that I can't get in contact with, or not get in contact with, but I can't see them in person. It is to have some in-person events. So in-person sessions, right? And so I had already had it in my mind to kind of go on, obviously, speaking tours and meet and greet tours, but I think that my speaking tour is going to look different. It's going to be one of those things where I go and I may speak one day and then I have a meet and greet the next day, or a meet and greet the day before, because I feel like I'm supposed to connect with the girlies in person. And that's what God is telling me about that, and he's telling me about that, about the life coaching. Like there's a lot of motivational content out here, girlies. I am not unbeknownst to that. There's a ton of it out here. But that's why I don't call myself a motivational speaker. I'm an activational speaker, because I activate the shift in the girlies. I actually give you some actionable tasks. Like everything about me is about action, right? I tell people all the time, like, you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? You have to walk the walk, right? You can only talk for so long. But eventually you're going to be talking and talking and talking, and people are going to be like, okay, well, where's the action behind it? So it's one of those things where I reframe the girlies thinking. Like, we not just talking the talk. We walking the walk too. If you that girl, then be that girl. Right? If that's who you going to be, if that's who you want to be, then be her. You want to be this corporate baddie and be a vice president level, then let's go. Let's do the work. It's some work to be done. But I'm here to help you. I'm not only here to tell you that you can do it. I'm here to give you the resources and the language and the tools to do it too. Like, it's more than just talking. I'm just not here to give you a bunch of inspiration and motivation. I'm here to empower you, right? I'm here to empower you and give you the confidence that you need. We're gonna lean on your faith, right? I'm steady building my faith as well, and I'm gonna be teaching the girlies. I'm gonna be teaching the girlies as I go along. Like, we having a whole Bible study session, right? We having Bible study sessions. I don't think I planned what day they were gonna come out. I think maybe Thursdays. But you guys will see that new series pop up on here. I'm excited about that too. I'm excited about doing some series. And again, I think that's just me really wanting to connect with the girlies. Like, I don't want to just be on here and just, keep giving you guys the motivational, the word, right, the inspiration, and giving you the cheerleading, like, yeah, girlies, you can do it, and you can do this, and you can do that. That's why you guys are seeing in the podcast episodes, I'm actually giving you guys mini activations, because those are the things that I want you to go home and do and journal about or think about after the episode, and then actually try and put those things in place. Like try them, put them in action. Get out there and try them. Walk the walk, right? Just like we're talking the talk, walk the walk. And that's why, again, I call myself activational speaker, right? I'm an activationist. I activate the girlies. I activate the shift in the girlies. So, so the life coaching is coming back. And I think that I'll have capacity and the time to do it at the end of the year. Because by that time the book had been out for a little bit. Hopefully we've been on, got maybe a little mini tour out. The tour might just be kind of like local. So I stay in Chicago. For the girlies, who don't know, I stay in Chicago. So we'll probably go to Milwaukee. We'll go to Indiana. Maybe go to Michigan. See what's going on with the girlies up there. I have a pull to go back to Philadelphia. I don't know why I have this pull to go back there, but something keeps pulling me back to Philadelphia. I don't know. I was in Philadelphia this past November, and I actually got the idea to do a tour where I would go around and do these meet and greets with the girlies, but we would also kind of attend and support other girlies who were there. So if other girlies were there and they were having an event, like a women's event, or a meet and greet or something like that, I wanted to go there, meet up with the girlies, right? Meet up with the girlies from the House of Details, and then take them with me as we go on. We support the other girlies, right? Because it's also about support. This community is about not only just kind of giving you guys the resources and the language, but also supporting the other girlies and supporting each other. We're all supporting each other. So my vision was to meet up there with the girlies, and then we all go support the other girlies that may be having an event in that city. And so I got that idea in Philly, and I think maybe it was a seed that was planted there, and I'm supposed to go back there. I knew I'm supposed to go back there, so I'll probably try to get back there. I usually go to Philly in the winter, usually in November, but I think I want to go in the summer. So we'll take a look and we'll kind of see what's kind of going on there, and just do our meet up there and go ahead and just do it. Right? Remember, we're no longer just um talking the talk or walking the walk. We're being obedient. We're being obedient. And God said do that, so we're gonna do it. So yeah, that's where we are. I mean, I know that this video, we went all over the place today, but I feel like, again, this is me for you to kind of connect with the girlies and connect on a deeper level. So, and y'all know I love a good wrap up. So let me tell y'all what's going on next. So we got some series coming. We got Bubbles and Bibles with the girlies. Now I know you like, girl, Bubbles and Bibles, girl. Okay, wait a minute, let me tell you. So I have really, 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 really been into sparkling water. Sparkling water, and these, I guess they call them social tonics, but the non-THC ones, these more so have ashwagandha in them and lion's manes and adaptogens, I think is how you say it. And so I've really been into those. Like, I have so many of them in my refrigerator right now, and some of them are really good, and some of them do help a lot, especially for someone like me, right, who's going, and the other girlies too, who are building. Oh my gosh, girlies, you said to the sun. The sun is coming out and shining on us. Hey, sun. The plant babies are gonna love it. Like, they've been wanting some sun for days now. But let me see, I may have to, let me see if I can, because right now you girlies can barely see me. Let me see. Okay, that might be a little better. So yeah, so I've really been into those sparkling waters, and I want to share them with you girlies. I feel like, that's kind of a thing. We'll get our sparkling water, and then I'll share with you guys what I learned in my Bible study. So I have been doing Bible study every week, and I want to teach the girlies, right? Because my platform is built off faith. That's one of my main pillars, is faith. And I feel like when I grew my faith and really grew my relationship with God is when things got clearer for me. And that's an integral part of my journey and my framework, is that it took a lot of faith. It took a lot of obedience. It took a lot of spending time with him so I can hear the message clearly. And so yeah, that's where we are with that. So we're gonna have Bible study. I'm gonna teach you girly. So our first theme of the month is lover boys and lover girls of the Bible, because it's Valentine's Day and I love Valentine's Day. So we're going to be talking about that. We'll talk about a lover boy and a lover girl every week, and we're just going to kind of just get into them, right? So we'll talk about them, and I'll tell you what kind of came up to me when I was experiencing the scripture. Now, again, I am not a minister or any person who has been trained in theology. I'm just reading the scripture for myself, girlies, and interpreting it and telling y'all what it is. Now, the Bible and the word and God is different for everybody. It's different for everybody. So where I may get a certain message from a scripture, you may get something different. But that's why I'm going to give you the scripture, girlies, and you girlies can read it and interpret it on your own. But also, you'll have my viewpoint too of what I felt and what came up for me when I read that scripture. So I'm excited about that. Like I said, I think it's going to come out every Thursday, but don't trip. You girlies know. I'll let you guys girlies know on the platform. I mean, on social media, so on IG or whatever. I'll post the schedule so you girls can know too. And then our second class we're going to have, our second series, is called Study Hall with the Girlies. Now, I'm really excited about this one because I am a lifelong learner. I love learning new things. And I feel like, oh, I messed up my little wave. I feel like that's a great resource that I can share with the girlies all at one time, right? So I will be leveraging, because I buy a masterclass subscription every year. I think Masterclass is super underrated. And if you have not heard of Masterclass, Masterclass is a platform where subject matter experts come on and they basically give you a lesson in whatever it is that they're expert in. So the one that's kind of going around right now that's super popular is Kim Kardashian, right? And we all seen how Kim Kardashian kind of she created her own path. Basically, she created her own path. People always used to be like, well, she's famous for nothing or whatever the case may be. I think that she found a path that she was able to leverage, and she built her business and her brand off of that. It was almost like she had to create her own opportunity, and then she leveraged that opportunity and grew it to what it is now. And I feel like I'm being drawn to that one first, because that's what God keeps telling me. God keeps telling me that you're not going to go down the typical road of somebody is going to give you a platform and you'll be discovered on their platform. So I know a lot of times, the girlies, they go on panels and they go on other people's podcasts and they go on other people's IG lives and things like that. And that's where they kind of get discovered at. God keep telling me, like, you're going to create your own. You're going to create your own stage. You're going to create your own platform. You're going to create your own momentum, right? The girlies will find you. And so he keeps telling me that. And I say, okay, okay. So that's why I haven't really been reaching out and trying to get on other people's podcasts. Like, I see it all the time. They say, oh, I'm looking for girlies to come on my podcast and, talk about this or talk about that. And I have not reached out. Like, every time I go to reach out, I literally hear God say, like, your own platform, your own stage. And I say, okay. And I don't feel remorse after I make the decision to not do it or anything like that. Now, like I said, I'll see them all the time, especially on Threads. And I don't, but when I say no, and I kind of, and God will kind of come and whisper in my ear, like, I said your own, I don't feel any way about it. So I know that, I'm going down the right path with that. So, again, study hall with the girlies. We'll be leveraging my masterclass. So, and I'm going to really, because one thing I do feel like is that some of the content creators who have already kind of covered her masterclass, because I'm kind of late getting to her masterclass, is that I don't know. It was baseless. Like, it didn't really tell me nothing. I'm like, well, what did she say? You know what I'm saying? Because we all want to know what she said. And I'm like, well, what did she say, though? And so when I watch the content, I still don't get what she said, y'all. Like, I don't know if I'm missing it or what. I'd be like, well, what did she say? Like, it's called the 10 Kim Commandments or whatever she called it. It was really cute. But when I hear it, I'm like, well, what was number one? What was number two? What was number three? What is she saying? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's not breaking it down for the girlies, and the girlies ain't catching it either. And so when they get ready to do the video, they not catching it. Or maybe they're trying to put this entire video or this entire lesson, because her lesson is about an hour and a half long. Maybe they're trying to sum it up into a 3-minute video on IG or TikTok. And I'm like, well, why? Just go to YouTube and you can talk however long you want to talk. But doesn't matter because I will be watching it. I'm actually going to watch it later on today, and that's going to be our first episode of study hall with the girlies. And so I'll be going over that. We're going to leverage my masterclass, and so we'll watch some other masterclasses that and talk about some other ones that I think will be beneficial to the girlies, especially in their pioneer eras, their explorer eras, their storyteller era, and their visionary era. Now, I know you're like, girl, where them eras come from? Girl, we're going to talk about it later, okay? Because this video is getting really long, but I'm going to come back on probably tomorrow, and I will talk about the framework and break the framework down for you girlies so that you can really understand who this content is for and also what era you may be in. I have something really, really fun coming too. And if you watched all the way to the end of this video, then I feel like you should be the one to get this information. So I am creating a quiz that is going to tell you or try to guess what era you're in. And over the next couple of weeks, you girlies will start to see more era specific content. So if you're a pioneer girly, this content is for you. If you're an explorer girly, this content is for you. Now, let me clear this up really quick first. The eras are not permanent, right? The eras are seasons. Think of them as seasons. And you may circle through these eras back and forth all the time, right? Because while you may be a visionary in one season of your life, you may be a pioneer in another season of your life, right? We go through so many different things. We do so many rebrandings. We try new things. And you know, when we step and we get older and we step into, and I guess our responsibilities change or our focuses change, you know, you may go back into another era, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's just how I kind of broke the framework down. But like, for instance, right now in this framework in my career and in, I guess, like the entire, like, kind of going through life, I am in the visionary era. But I'm also trying to figure out dating, right? Dating, fitness, all those kind of things. So I'm going back and being a pioneer in those areas because I'm just starting out, right? Pioneer, explorer. I'm still trying to find my footing when it comes to those two seasons of my life. So you go to start to see more specific era based content. The other thing I want to say is that I will be creating a quiz, and the quiz will kind of tell you, like, oh, okay, you know, I may be in this era right now. And after you sign up and you take the quiz, you will get a secret chapter from my book. I guess I don't want to call it a secret, but you'll be a special preview, right? So you'll get a chapter from the book before the book actually comes out. And you'll be able to read it, right? So you can see what you're getting into. I'm a firm believer in letting the girlies kind of see before, you know, they go ahead and I ask them to support me. I want you to see what you're getting, or what the product is, right? So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be able to give you guys a sneak peek of the book. And again, you go ahead, you take the quiz. I'm going to send you some era specific resources, and then you'll get a sneak peek of the book. You'll get a whole chapter of the book, and I'm even thinking about throwing in maybe 1 or 2 pages from the workbook. That way, you can see what the book is all about, right? You may read the book, you may read the chapter and say, you know what, I may not be ready for this type of book right now, or you know, I'm just not interested in this kind of book, and that's fine. You still may want to support. You still may want to come on here and listen to these vlogs and do all that kind of things, and I'm okay with that. But I want to make sure that you girlies know what you're getting. I take my platform very, 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 very serious, and I know that coming on a platform and putting myself out here like this, to be this person of influence and to have this visibility on my platform is something that I take serious. And I really try to steward that visibility and influence with integrity. And so I never want to sell you something that, you know, is made up. Right. I'm not making any of this up. I've actually gone through this, my journey. I've shared quite a few times my platform already. I'll probably make one big long video so you guys can know, like, well, what is your journey? Where did you come from? How did you start? And where are you at now? But I want to be very transparent, and I also want you to know that I take this serious. I'm here asking to be a person at the seat at your board of directors table. If you have not heard that podcast, make sure you go check out that episode. But I'm asking to sit at your table. And when I sit at that table, I take that responsibility serious because I'm there to help you make literally some life changing decisions. I'm here to give you resources that are tried and true. I'm here to give you tools that will actually work. I'm not just trying to sell you a tool just to kind of sell it, you know, or to give you a tool just to kind of give it to you because I may be getting an affiliate link from it or some money back from it or whatever it may be. That's not the case. I'm giving you this tool because I want to see you succeed. I want you to have a fair chance, right? When I was going through my journey, there were very few maps, very few maps available, as well as very few communities available that really did what they said they were going to do, right? They really offered the support. They really offered the language, the tools, all of that. It was very, very scarce, girlies. It was very, very scarce. And so every time I think about what I'm creating for you girlies, right, and what I'm bringing to you girlies, I really stop and say, hey, is this something that I can fully stand behind 100%? Is it something I can fully stand behind 100%? Is it something that I really believe in? Is it something that I really trust in? So I want you to know that when I am introducing you to things and I am telling you about things, it is 100% authentic, and it is coming from a place of love. I always say this all the time, like, it's anything and everything for the girlies. because I really, really, really care about your girlies, right? I care about your girlies, and and even, and some of y'all probably like, girl, what? You don't even know me, girl. I care about your journey, and I care about you. Like I want to see you succeed, right? I want to see you succeed. Like the same love that Jesus has for all of us, I have for you guys. I want to see you happy. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you win. So it's one of those things where, like I said, like God, He gives His what they say, God gives His strongest um well, we know what I'm trying to say. God gave me a mission, right? And He gave one of the strong ones this mission. He said, yeah, put the girlies on your back and go. And I said, okay, girlies, jump on. We about to go. So I'm mad I can't think about, the little saying I'm trying to think of right now. But that's what I'm saying. God said, put the girlies on your back, girl. Put the girlies on your back. Share with the girlies what you've learned. Put it out there. Let's go. Like, let's take the girlies and let's go. And that's what I'm doing. So, yeah. So the book. So like I said, we got the book. We got the book coming out. We're going to go on a speaking tour this summer. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get back to the Black Women's Expo, because that is where I'm trying to share the brand with as many girlies as I can. I am going to link my GoFundMe and my GoFundMe video below so that you girls can see what I'm talking about. I just shot it this morning, and it kind of talks a little bit about the backstory of the Pretty and Powerful Blueprint, and about the platform, and why we're trying to get back to the Black Women's Expo. So long story short, we're trying to get back there because that's where the seed was planted for me to do the mission and the vision, and I want to be able to share that with the girlies. I want to experience that with the girls. I want to meet as many girlies as I can. So we need to go fund me though, because that costs money. So we need the booth rent. We need the decor, because of course I'm going to make it a one of a kind experience. I need the money to buy inventory for the books and the workbooks, as well as the other little cute things that'll come kind of like in your little package that you'll get. I want swag bags. Like, I want this to be a one of a kind experience, a one of a kind activation. So that is what we're doing the GoFundMe for. And if you choose to sow a seed with me and support me, I really appreciate that. But if you don't, that's okay, girlies. You're still welcome in the House of Details. You're still welcome here. You're still welcome to get all of the content that I'm putting out, all of the resources, all of the tools. You're still welcome. So, and then, like I said, we'll have the life coaching come out at the end of the year, and I'll be taking on clients. I will taking on clients in Chicago, in person, and then if you're not in Chicago, we will obviously have to do Zoom. But you never know. I may come to your city to see you, because I want to see you, girly. I want to see you. I want to experience your energy. I want you to experience my energy. So you just never know. But initially, we'll be doing in-person visits in Chicago. If that works for, the girlies or whatever, some girlies may say, hey, it works better for me to do Zoom, but we'll figure it out. But that's coming, so more to come on that. So I am going to get off of here, because we are about an hour and 2 minutes in. I hope you girlies enjoyed this vlog. I'll come back this week and do more vlogs with you girls, because I know, like the girlies said in the comments, like, hey, you guys say you say you're gonna come back and you don't come back. It'd be weeks. These be sporadic. Like we need some continuity up in here. So we'll figure that out. But today we are done for today, so I won't be back today, but I will be back later on this week. And I hope you girlies learn a little bit more about me and about the mission that I have, and I'm so happy to share everything with you, and I'll see you soon. All right, girlies, bye.